Texas has roughly 700,000 acres of state parks. To put that into perspective, that's roughly the size of the entire state of Rhode Island. But there is a threat we could lose several state parks because they're not owned by the state and are instead leased by private entities. It's the situation Fairfield Lake faces and something at least two other state parks close to San Antonio are facing. Barry Davis explains.
People need an opportunity to come and and experience nature, to experience the serenity of what it feels like to sit on the lake shore and hear the leaves rustling and the waves of the lake lapping against the shore.
Even on a cold, blustery day, there's an amazing calmness about being near the water, watching nature, or maybe trying to lure largemouth bass into biting. But there's a storm brewing around our state parks, and if lawmakers don't do something, the public may never see these waters again.
The state of Texas has made a vast amount of improvements. We've cut in hiking trails and put in camping spaces. We've got 2 boat ramps for people can use.
Fairfield Lake was created in 1969 by damming Big Brown Creek to make a cooling reservoir for the Big Brown power plant. The state leased the land around it for a park in 1976.
Last year, we welcomed just over 80,000 visitors.
In 2018, the power plant was decommissioned and eventually demolished in April of 2021. Almost 2 years later came more shocking news. Vistra Corporation, which ran the plant, was selling the 5,000-acre site.
Yeah, it's been a real gut punch to me and the folks here.
An investment firm in Dallas is planning to build a private, gated community.
There will be no more access to the lake, no more camping opportunities, fishing opportunities, boating opportunities, so the public will no longer be allowed into the state park nor access to Fairfield Lake.
Todd Interest reportedly wasn't willing to negotiate, and they didn't return our phone call.
Oh, I'm very confident that we're going to save this state park.
So Angela Orr, who represents the Fairfield area in the Texas House, co-authored House Bill 4757, which requires whoever owns the land and lake to get TCEQ and Texas Parks and Wildlife's permission before a drop of water is removed from the lake. Then an amendment was added to ensure historical public access, meaning gated community or not, anybody can use the lake.
Well, that's been the goal all along, is to get to the table to talk.
This bill does that?
I think this bill gets the parties back to the table so that we can have a conversation about it. And I think the result of that conversation will be that we save the state park.
Fairfield is not the only state park in that situation. There are 15 leased from private organizations. The 2 closest to us, Lake Casablanca in Laredo and Choke Canyon, just 100 miles south of San Antonio.
Very supportive, both on the House side and the Senate side.
Senator Charles Schwertner also represents the Fairfield Lake area and says the legislature isn't stopping there.
The state has put in millions, tens of millions of dollars in improvements since 1976 in the state park. And so that needs to be recognized as well.
Schwertner says amendments in the state budget examine all the state park leases, and work is being done to make sure the state gets first crack at any current leased park land whenever it sells.
If we do have that option and the opportunity to lease essentially for free a piece of property and turn it into a state park, that the state's interests are protected and that we're first in line and we have a right of first refusal if that property owner decides to divest of that property.
Many of the leased parks are federal lands, so the chances are low this situation could come up again. But until the governor signs the bill, there is that chance.
We have so little access as it stands now, and losing just any piece of that would be a tragedy.